Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Pacers Daily. I am your host, Hery Acosta. Welcome back to a new episode. Happy Thursday. You know, I record every Monday through Friday. Like and subscribe for more content like this. Now, here we go. Here we go with the new video. First things first, Obi Toppin. Now, today I kind of compiled a list of some people that have been trade targets for other teams. And then, kind of just one free agent to look at. And then kind of just want to talk about the preseason. Just because the preseason is coming up, we are almost there. Very excited for basketball season. This is my favorite time of year where there's going to be basketball, there's going to be football, there's going to be Champions League soccer, league soccer, MLB playoffs, pretty much everything you need sports-wise. But, we're talking about basketball. This is what we talk about on this channel. Straight in Obi Toppin. Now, he is a trade target for the Sixers of all teams, and the reason for that is just because the Sixers are kind of in the weird spot where they don't really know what their true identity is right now. Now, you never even know if Joel Embiid's ever going to play basketball again at this point, which now everyone can have their opinions about Embiid. I've never been a big fan of the way he plays and the way he kind of acts on the court, but he's one of the best players when healthy. He's one of the top 3, top 4 players in the NBA, and just him pretty much losing his career at 30, 31, if that's the case, it's not good and it's sad. But it sucks. And with Paul George also kind of being all over the place with his injuries and just not being consistent anymore, their real only threat right now is Tyrese Maxey, who you never even know, he could potentially be on the next bus out of there in some blockbuster trade of another team, unless they keep him just to become the full-on star, which if I was the Sixers I would. You got a lot of good pieces around him, but a lot of players are unhappy with that roster. I talked about Kelly Oubre and Andre Drummond a few episodes ago, them potentially becoming Pacers soon. But I don't see Toppin getting traded unless it's something big, unless we get a star player out of it, and Toppin could be like the headliner for our side. Because his contract is a good contract, and it's also one that could fit into a lot of trades. But I personally don't want to trade him. I mean, this is one of our best players. He is going to be the first guy off the bench 99.9% of the time, unless a guard picks up 2 fouls, in which case McConnell would go in first. But Toppin is the sixth man. He is one of those players that can be in the sixth man of the year conversations. So, hoping that he just sticks around. Now, this one is even less of a thing that I actually think might happen. I don't think Siakam's getting traded whatsoever. Now, he might be linked to the Celtics. He might be linked to a playoff team. But Siakam's staying. He signed a huge extension. He loves it here in Indianapolis, averaging over 20 points a game. Been our best scorer since he came to this team, and just been a vocal leader. Was the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. Could have potentially been the Finals MVP if we had won the Finals. So this is a player that needs to stick around. This year is going to be more important than ever to see what he does, just because of Halliburton's injury and just everything going around the team. So I really need to see Siakam take over that role of leader, just full-on leader, best player and leader, and then kind of just help out all the other guys, just kind of keep progressing in their careers. So I don't think that this trade will happen whatsoever. The only way it happens is if they throw in some crazy good pieces, because the Celtics have some good pieces all around. But also the Celtics also already traded away Holiday, Porzingis, and Luke Cornett is now on the Spurs. They brought in Luka Garza, and then they brought in Anthony Simons, but outside of that, they haven't had the best offseason. They pretty much got rid of Georges Niang. They didn't keep him whatsoever. So I don't see much happening in that front. Now, the one free agent I'm talking about today is one of the oldest players in the league, and this PJ Tucker. And I was going to talk about him or James Johnson, but let's kind of change it a little bit, because I have talked about James Johnson before. I don't fully remember if I've talked about PJ Tucker, but if I have, then we're just going to have a little bit of a secondary. Tucker would be a good fit off the bench, kind of just like a James Johnson presence. Obviously, he's not, as scary as James Johnson, but he's still probably not one you would want to mess with. But also, Tucker can come in and defend. He's a good defender. Now, he can't really score anymore. There's been years where he's averaged 2-3 points starting. And he's in there to grab a few rebounds, pass the ball, and kind of just space the floor. He's won a championship. He's been to multiple finals. He's been a glue guy. He's been there. So it wouldn't be too bad. He currently just played with the Knicks. And the Knicks just recently signed a bunch of people to their training camp roster. Players I've talked about like Garrison Matthews, all were signed. Now, Tucker remains unsigned. It's like a bunch of other players that could end up in Indy. Now, when those kind of full rosters come out right before like training camp, I will be talking about each and every player that we signed and just kind of seeing their the possibility of them actually being on the team versus them being cut, because most people that will get signed at this point will end up getting cut. And then last but not least, season's coming up soon, and I just want to give the Pacers just a little bit of advice. I don't fully think the Pacers or anyone on the Pacers are really watching this, but just a little bit of advice. Don't think of this season as a lost season. Think of this as how do you describe it? Kind of like a revamp of last season. Now, last season you got to the promised land and you were this close. This year, get to the promised land and get it. Whether or not you have your best player, whether or not there's a lot going on the team, just keep playing your game. No team besides the Thunder have as good of a chemistry as the Pacers do. This is why the Pacers were in the finals, because of how good the chemistry is. This is why the Pacers beat teams like Milwaukee, beat teams like Cleveland, beat teams like New York. And all those teams on paper were better teams. But we beat them. And in statement fashion too, 4-1, 4-1, 4-2. Beat the number 1 seed 4-1. And we're 12 points off beating the number 1 seed in the NBA for a championship. So just play your game. Everyone's gonna have to improve a little bit this year. Whether or not you just had your best season, now it's time to have your best season again. It's time for everyone to just rotate, know where they're playing, adjust to the new rules. Nembhard adjusting to being a starting point guard, Mathurin being adjusted to being a full-time starter. Players like Jarris Walker have to adjust to getting way more minutes now because of everything. Wiseman, Huff, getting adjusted to really being on the roster, because Wiseman only got to play with us for 1 game, and then by February he was off the team, and Huff has never set foot on a court for the Pacers. So there's just a lot of things that the Pacers have to work on, but I still think that this season could really be it. It could be a very good season for the Pacers. Whether or not people think, there was a graphic today that showed that the Pacers had a 42% chance of reaching the playoffs. Be real, we're still one of the top 8 teams in the East, and there's no way we're not. Now, as always, I'm your host, Hery Acosta. This is Pacers Daily. Boom, baby, and go, Sirs.